So we've now gone down from weeks to literally days. If I can say days, it's probably overestimation, it's probably a day to get everything out and ready for production.
Hi everyone, Skalk and Gareth here from Untitled Architect. Gareth, as always, joining all the way from Amsterdam, and I'm calling in from Johannesburg in South Africa. And we're very excited to welcome you guys to another Untitled Architect case study interview. And joining us today is Johan van Rhyn, the Chief Solution Architect at BrightRock. Welcome, Johan, and thanks for joining us.
I'm very glad to be with you.
Just a bit of background on Johan very quickly. So Johan's been in the software engineering space for more than 20 years now as a software engineer, solution architect, and he's worked across various industries for various different types of businesses, ranging from startups to software development houses, all the way to corporates like BrightRock. And BrightRock very quickly is one of South Africa's fastest growing insurance companies, employing more than 1,000 people, and they have hundreds of thousands of customers across the country. And so before I hand you over to Gareth, and maybe for starters, can you give us a high-level feel for the role that software plays at BrightRock?
Well, at BrightRock, we see ourselves as a fintech company. So software is the core of what we do. Basically, all our rate calculations, all our insurance products are software driven. And our products are so unique that we couldn't buy software off the shelf to service our customers. So we actually had to build everything from scratch. So, and this is where software is today. You know, software is driving our company and our business.
Amazing. Johan, just want to say thanks again from my side, and a very warm welcome to this case study session. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you guys. We've been working with you for actually several years now, and I've just feel it's a great privilege being part of that. Maybe we can start off just before we get into the intent architect related stuff. We can just start off by if you could give us a quick feel for what you guys are doing at a technical level, what you guys what your environment looks like from a technical perspective.
If we are a Microsoft shop mostly, so .NET. Spread across multiple versions of .NET and microservices. I think this is the way that everyone develops nowadays. We have hundreds of microservices working together to deliver our products and to give us, our users, the tools that they need to do quotes for life insurance products. So yeah, that's our setup, microservices all over the place. Yeah.
How big is the team at the moment?
The size of our team, developer-wise, is probably around 20, 25 developers spread across 3 different regions of the world. So we've got team members in India as well as in South America, and then obviously in South Africa as well.
Yeah, I recall you guys had different technologies across the different microservices, different versions of things, as well as a lot of different patterns in that space. And what is the in terms of the actual impact that it was having for you guys in the teams? What were you guys feeling in terms of from a dev perspective? What were you guys feeling from these disparities?
I think it created a lot of frustration in the team because, first of all, the one team would do something one way and the other team would do something a different way, up to the point almost where we couldn't understand what the other team's doing. Everything became a black box for the other team. And in a way, we probably still want that to be a black box for one team to the other team, but it must be consistent in the way that the team knows how to use your black box.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about when we first engaged with you guys from an intent architect perspective. What were some of the initial places that you guys started using intent architect?
I think the first place that we saw intent architect fitting into was just bootstrapping like a standard. But we quickly realized that it was more than that. It was not just a tool that we can bootstrap something to follow a standard. Intent gave us the ability to standardize, first of all, make sure that whenever someone is building a project in Intent, we know what the project is going to look like, what the solution is going to be constructed. Know that this DLL is going to have this function, it's going to be this, and it's going to look like that. And I think the most important thing that it brought to the table for us is opening up an intent project. I can immediately see the intention of what that project is going to do. Hence the name intent architect, I would imagine. But I don't have to go and look for version 2 and version 3 and version 4 of a document to see if it aligns with what the developer has done. Intent shows me this is what's happening in that project, and it just opened up so much more confidence for us in what we're doing.
And you know, over the years we've supported you guys. What is the experience that you guys had from the Intent Architect team?
The Intent Architect team has been supporting us now for several years, like you said. And I mean, I can reach out at 7 in the morning or 6 at night or 6 in the afternoon. And someone will be there to have a quick look at the issue that I'm having, assisting me. And I mean, you guys have helped us build our own modules to also set up the patterns that we follow in our coding, in our microservices. And I think just from that point of view, it's an excellent relationship that we have. It's not like you buy something, we sell something, you buy something. It's more of a very deep-rooted relationship, I think.
Yeah, Johan, likewise from our side, it's been an absolute pleasure supporting you guys. What were some of the results that you guys achieved by bringing Intent Architect into the space, the microservice space, and those different bootstrappings?
Well, one of the results is obviously, like I said before, is that we got that standard way of working. But I think the major thing is just from a first point of view, the bootstrapping. To bootstrap the microservice usually took a developer 2 days to get all the NuGet packages in and all the structure set up. Now they build it in Intent without thinking about bootstrapping anything. They click a button in Intent, they run the software factory, and everything is there, and they can start building business logic. They don't have to go think about setting up Swagger, setting up dependency injection. All of that's just there. They can focus on business logic, but more than that, they can also build the structure of where their business logic is going to be. And that's one of the big benefits. And then secondly is it gives us a mind change. We don't have to think about, oh, we have to put this in a NuGet package so that everyone can share this block of code. Well, I can now manage that code in Intent. If I want to swap out my logging framework, I can do that in Intent, rerun my software factory, and that change has been affected wherever I ran it. It's not something that I have to go think about and plan for months anymore to do. We can just do it. And that is a big one for us.
Yeah.
And thirdly, if I can we had a spin-off project where all of our projects are fronted by PowerShell modules as well. So all our microservices are wrapped by a Power module, accessible via a PowerShell module. We had this one PowerShell module that guys wrote a PowerShell script to build workflows, because we have our own homegrown workflow system. And it literally took them weeks to write the script. So we created an Intent module where they can visually design the workflow like they want it to be, and Intent would generate that whole PowerShell script for them in seconds. So we've now gone down from weeks to literally days. If I can say days, it's probably overestimation, it's probably a day to get everything out and ready for production.
Yeah, and just to clarify, the architecture that you guys run, it's completely unique to BrightRock.
It is completely unique to BrightRock. Obviously, I think there is definitely some best practices that we follow, but we've set up our modules and our services in a way that works for us, so that things can be easily swapped out if they need to be. So it's very modular, but in such a way that I can say it's unique to BrightRock. And in Intent, we've built modules to represent our unique way of working.
Yeah, and those modules, you guys are building them, you guys are in control of them, and you can make changes to those modules at any point in time. Absolutely.
For us, it's I've got developers asking me, can we have a module in Intent that does this? And it's always nice to have to always answer, yes, you can. We just need to build it. It's not something that we have to go find an open source for it, or is it possible? We just assume that it is possible and we build it. And I think that's the thing that really makes Intent powerful in our environment, is if there is something that changes in the way we do things, we can make Intent do what we want it to do.
Yeah, that's great, John. So in terms of the anticipated efficiencies that you guys would have, if BrightRock, the business side, came to you and said, we've got a new project, it's a new solution that we need to set up, and let's just assume that it's going to follow the same architecture that you guys are already following. You'll be able to leverage the assets you've already built for an intent architect. What kind of gains would you anticipate from an efficiency perspective if you had to compare that to, for example, you having to write that application traditionally in the traditional way by hand?
I would say that I would, again, let's take a wild estimate here, but I would say we would go down from 6 to 8 sprints. We can go down to 1 or 2 sprints, getting everything out. I mean, the way that we build our applications, as soon as we bootstrap an intent architect and run the software factory, and all the publicly visible endpoints are stubbed, we can deploy to production. That literally we can do within a day.
Because the code is...
Yeah, the code's done. I mean, everything is there. We can just deploy. Obviously, we have some processes to follow before we get into production, but it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And you say that because the code is essentially enterprise grade, production ready. It's your guys' pattern, it's your guys' architecture. All the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted from the get-go. And it's really about the business logic that the developers have written that would have to undergo scrutiny before anything went live.
Yes, exactly. And I think from an efficiency point of view, not having to constantly code review that boilerplate, and it alleviates the pressure from the seniors to do the reviews, to actually just review business logic, make sure that the calculators are correct, make sure that we are storing the data in the correct place, which we also model anything. So
yeah, that's great. Johan, what would you say, and this is from your perspective and your opinion, what would you say has been the main benefit that Intent Architect has brought to your teams and yourself?
I think the main benefit from my point of view is, as an architect, I can trust what's coming out of Intent is what I wanted, but I can also see just from the developers who are first reluctant to accept new tools, because everyone lives in Visual Studio and you know how that works as a developer. And then as they start using the tool, it becomes their first go-to tool. Visual Studio is not the place where they now start off anymore. Visual Studio is the place where they continue. And that's a great thing to see. And the developers are just reaching for Intent first to say, okay, now with Intent, let's get everything up and running, and then we can build this business logic. And that's the end for them. So it's not this whole process of setting up and frustration, because even though we've moved on into NuGet and NuGet version 3, we are still in places where we get DLL hell. We get to mitigate that now. And it makes the developers happy. Put them in a happy space, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's great. Johan, my final question before we wrap up here. Would you recommend Intent Architect to other developers in the industry?
I definitely would. I think it's an asset to any company to use, just for the trust that you can have in that what you are building is what you intended to build. And I would absolutely recommend it to anyone.
That's great. Johan, thank you very, very much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure working with you, and looking forward to helping you guys achieve your vision, your guys' strategy into the future. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and we'll chat again.
Thanks very much.